Welcome back to the channel, I'm Patrick. You might have seen my full review of this Alaska cruise on Brilliance of the Seas last week. But in today's video, I'm taking you inside my Oceanview stateroom. If you've ever wondered what it's really like to book a cabin as a solo traveller with Royal Caribbean, here's what you can expect.
Yes, I'm a sweaty mess.
Royal Caribbean doesn't often make solo travel cheap. On this sailing, I booked an Oceanview room and managed to snag a last-minute bargain. So let's take a look at the cabin itself, and then I'll break down what I actually paid, plus what internet, gratuities and excursions added to the bill. This cruise series is made with the help of Patreon members. Join them for weekly behind-the-scenes and bonus episodes.
They just announced that staterooms are available and that your key is sitting right here on the door. Welcome inside room 4014, here on board the Brilliance of the Seas, our Royal Caribbean ship, or Royal Caribbean ship for this trip. I have to remember that most people call it Caribbean on board. This room is an ocean view only room, meaning I don't have a balcony. So you can see there's a really very large porthole here, and I'm going to be able to see quite a lot, but obviously not as much as if I had shelled out extra for one of the balcony rooms. The room is laid out in a very typical Oceanview style, as I understand it for this ship. That is, if I turn the camera around. The bed has this slightly curved shape at the bottom and is positioned right under the window. In some of the other cabins, the bed is against one wall. This is plenty big enough for a couple, and for a solo traveller like me, it's going to be more than comfortable. I understand that in certain configurations, this bed can be split into two, so that you can have two twin beds for people who are travelling together, but who aren't romantic partners. My first impression of the room is that it seems comfortable and a little bit bigger than I expected, but it's probably a little bit worn in parts. For example, if we look at this couch, it's starting to look pretty faded, and the edges seem to have worn away with no attempt to do a fix on those. Also, the amount of scuffs on this coffee table are pretty obvious. And on some of the doors, you're going to see something similar. I'm not setting out to complain about this ship. I knew whenever I booked it that it was an older product, and as a result, when I did my booking, I got a pretty good deal for somebody travelling solo in a cabin. So let's do a quick room tour, and we'll start in the doorway. These two big wardrobe doors conceal a big wardrobe. On this side there's shelving. It's going to look pretty dark for this. And on the other side there's lots and lots of hangers. There are plenty of life jackets up here. I'm going to unpack my tuxedo a little bit later. No, I didn't bring a tuxedo. Those life belts remind me to say that everything on Royal Caribbean is organised through its app. I have to say that I'm pretty impressed by it. I checked in online long before boarding and gave my health status information and whatever else they required. It made everything very straightforward when I was going through security and US customs, which otherwise might have been a bit of a faff. Well, it still was a faff. One of the things that's required for everybody is that they've had a safety briefing, and that also begins in the app. You have to watch a little video, and then finally you have to physically go to your assigned muster station, and that varies depending where you're staying on the cruise ship.
Than ever before. Again, this is mandatory, and all guests must attend the safety briefing.
On this side of the entrance corridor is, of course, the bathroom. This is bijou, but perfectly acceptable. I don't particularly object to the tiles. The sink looks okay, maybe a little bit worn in here in terms of cracking. There's really good water pressure in here. And for one person on their own, this is probably fine. If you were sharing your stateroom with a significant other and or additional family members, there can be up to 4 in some of these staterooms, this bathroom would feel very small very quickly. They've provided 2 towels, which are perfectly soft, and 2 slightly sandpapery hand towels. There's also 2 flannels. We wouldn't be near the United States without some of those. Some advice on not rushing to flush. 2 proper glass tooth mugs. Also in the bathroom and hidden behind this mirror is a vanity unit where all of your cosmetics can be stored. In my case, some hair products, sun cream, and a €1.50 Spanish aftershave.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Welcome aboard Brilliance of the Seas.
The toilet seems functional. And back here is the shower. This seems big enough for most people. I'm just about 6 foot. And I'll probably be able to get underneath that relatively straightforwardly. I see there is a hair and body wash 2-in-1, but no branding on that, so it could be anything. All right, let's pop back into the rest of the room and see what else we can see. I do like that there's a little reading light here. Oh, that's handy, so it doesn't keep the second person that you're traveling with awake. And you can get some mood, if you like yellow as your color, using this particular lamp. Trash can is here. Then this area is either your desk area or your prep area or whatever you're going to use it for. I'm going to set up my computer here, and quite a few sockets and ports have been provided here. I think these are like a European style plug socket. These are North American in general. Again, showing the age, a modem, a telephone and a data line, all of which look very, very out of date and broken. 2 lights either side of the mirror for preparing your face for going out to a formal dinner in your tuxedo. That's your cup of tea. Did it help? I don't think it did. Sorry about that, Patrick. These mirrors open and provide additional storage. I think I'm going to put my water bottle in there. We have 3 drawers either side of this chair. Oh, a hairdryer. There we go. Helpful for those of you who have hair. There seems to be a drawer here. And where once on a cruise ship there might have been some writing paper, a blotting pad, we have instead whatever that is, and some breakfast menus. Yes, you can order food to your room, and I believe that is no additional charge. Yeah, it says right on here, continental breakfast is complimentary. If you have an American breakfast that is something fried, there'll be a service fee of $7.95. On the continental side you have things like juices, coffee, things from the bakery, jams and spreads, cereals. I'm not sure to what extent I'm going to use that, but maybe one morning. On this side there's a little fridge, and I took on board with me my own waters and sodas. Now, let's have a quick conversation about that. Recently, Royal Caribbean changed its rules, stating what guests could or could not bring on board. Now, for people who like a glass of wine and haven't bought the all-inclusive alcohol package, then guests were permitted to bring on board 2 750ml bottles of wine. That's been reduced to only 1 per person. I'm not drinking on this particular cruise, and I don't drink enough soda or coffee to warrant buying one of those packages, and so I use the other allowance that Royal Caribbean allows, which is up to 12 500ml bottles of water or soda of your choice. And that is what is currently in my cooler. Finally, up above here, there's the safe, and it is recommended that you store your valuables in there when you're not going to be in the stateroom. From traveling on quite a lot of ferries, and you should check out that list, I recognize a hidden single bed whenever I see one, and I think there are 2 up here, and in some other former life this could possibly have been that stateroom for 4. I was interested to note that these curtains can pull across. There's a phone over here with all of the main contact numbers on board. I note that on board there is a full service medical centre. There isn't much of a view outside just now, and I'm hopeful that when we get going up through the inside passage and heading towards Alaska, we'll get a little bit more of a view. I'm not sure if I will get the views of the coast on the way up or the way back. At the moment, they're just swinging in those white cages full of people's luggage. It's 2 p.m. on board, and people can check in, I think, right through to probably 3 or 3:30, and our scheduled sailing time is at 5 p.m.
All right, let's talk about what this Alaska cruise actually cost me as a solo traveller. Royal Caribbean doesn't make it cheap if you're sailing alone. For this Alaska trip, fares often run anywhere from around $1,200 up to $2,000 or more, but that depends on the ship and the date you sail. On this voyage, I booked last minute and paid just over $1,100 for my Oceanview stateroom. Then there's the extras. Royal Caribbean automatically charges gratuities of $18.50 per day per person. But at the time I sailed, it was still $16 per day, so on a 7-night cruise, that added up to about $112. I also bought a single day of internet so I could get some work done on an at-sea day. That was another $28. And of course, excursions. Now, I didn't book through Royal Caribbean. I used an independent operator called Shore Excursions Group, who were quite a bit cheaper, especially as I booked so late. I'll leave a link to them below. In Sitka, I took a scenic tour for $105. In Juneau, I took part in a gold panning and salmon bake tour for $145, and then joined a kayaking excursion which cost about $146. So all in all, this 7-night Alaska cruise on Brilliance of the Seas cost me around $1,648. For a solo traveller, that is not cheap. But it is a lot less than paying the full double fare for your room that some cruise lines insist on. And honestly, for the ship, the itinerary, and the chance to finally see Alaska, it was worth it. Speaking of shore excursions, make sure to join me next week to explore our 4 big stops in Alaska and find out if those paid excursions were worth the charge.
This part of the tour feels slightly like Jurassic Park. Thank you so much for joining me for this little tour of the Oceanview guest suite on board Royal Caribbean's Brilliance of the Seas, heading to Alaska. It would really help if you'd consider subscribing and clicking the bell for notifications. Until the next episode, take care. Bye bye.